fish. Oh.
All right, good morning. Hello, digital world that is seeing me in a two-dimensional form. I hope it's great. And hello, everybody that's here. We're going to sing a couple songs and reflect the belongings of our week. This next song we're going to sing is new to us, and I kind of want to set it up because it's a little bit different than what we typically sing, mainly because of the lyrics, and it focuses in on different I've preached before about the different wells we go to for satisfaction, different things we try to find in life that we think will satisfy us. And each of the verses in the song focuses in on a different well that we go to. All the money in the world, looks, having people really think that we are good looking, really ridiculously good looking. Having control of situations, and then being liked and loved by everyone. And the chorus says, your love is better than life. You are the well that won't run dry. I have tasted and I have seen, but you are better than all these things. And it reflects the words of this song that I'd like for us to read together, and then we'll sing this song together. So read this with me. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him.
Riches that could buy my dreams. You are better than all these things. Prettiest face to turn their eyes. Beauty that could hypnotize. The open doors that looks may bring. You are better than all these things. Your love is better than life. You are the well that won't run dry. I have tasted and I have seen. Oh, you are better than all these things. Power that can shake the moon, ghosting for one in every room. Status match my only needs. You are better than all these things. Your love is better than life. You are the well that won't run dry. I have tasted and I have seen. You are better than all these things.
God, may we seek those things first and foremost. That we would pursue your love, your grace, and your mercy. Father, I want you. We love you. Amen.
This morning, Rick is going to be working from Psalm 46, 1 through 5. And it says this: God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. Selah. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of her, she shall not be moved. God will help her when morning dawns.
Good morning. Leave that up there for a second if you would, Brooklyn. I'm glad you guys are here. Glad you guys have chosen to be with us and join us this morning. I think this is an important message that God has for us. Thank you for those joining us on the internet and all of those different outlets. So I want to say something really quickly about verses 2 through 5, and then we're going to spend almost all of our time this morning in verse 1. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved, and the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, the mountains tremble at its swelling. The hard stuff happening in the world. You don't have to be all that perceptive to see a lot of hard things happening in our world. And I think that because of that, this psalm is very integral and important for us to engage with this morning. And then that's verses 2 and 3, there's verses 4 and 5 really focusing on who God is and what he has for us. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God. We can insert ourselves there. There's a river whose streams make us glad. The holy habitation of the Most High. Where the Lord lives is joy. Where the Lord lives is happiness. Where the Lord lives is gladness. And that's the truth of verse 4. God in the midst of her, she shall not be moved. God will help her when the morning dawns. Trouble is here, but with the Lord is gladness and happiness and joy and peace and help. Let's pray and then dig into verse 1. God, thank you so much for today. Thank you for this opportunity you've given to me to study your word and apply your word to my heart and to my soul, to my life, Father. I pray, Lord, that the words that you've given me to speak this morning would be helpful to those who hear them, God. Lord, I pray for those who are wrestling very presently with something hard and difficult, as we probably all are, Lord. And I pray that you would descend upon us with your Spirit, descend upon us with your presence, and help us to understand what it is that you are when you say you are our refuge and our strength and our very present help in trouble. Lord, thank you so much for Jesus. In his name, amen. So I mentioned this in Call to Worship last week. I'll say it again this week for those of you who weren't there or maybe forgot. Last week, the week before last, was a really hard week for me. There were lots of difficulties going on in my world, and God kind of broke into that difficulty, those hardships, and spoke to me about surrender. And really, it was actually on the way home, the drive home from work. I was listening to an old song, and God spoke to me about surrender and met me in that moment. And a lot of the difficulty, a lot of hardship fell away in that moment as the Lord told me to surrender to who he is, surrender to the trouble that I was walking through. And then I had already planned for a month or so to preach Psalm 46 today. And as I was studying this week, I began to think about how the Lord met me in my car and was an incredible, sweet gift to my spirit driving home that day. And the verses that I'm going to read today are kind of the proof of the attributes of God that showed up to me a few days before. So last week, here's what was going on. There was a difficult relationship that's really important to me that was pressing in on me and my family. There was stress of trying to lead a church through this pandemic and how to still be in community and like wear a mask and engage with people and have community groups and still live in community as I feel like God has called us to as a church. And then trying to lead this church and my family through this current racial culture climate and in North County and all of the difficulties that are present there. And there were several really stressful situations at work. I had a really big, really important account that I was trying to finalize, and it was super stressful in a difficult situation with an employee. And then I had a conference call that was really, can't get into the details, but it was really, really dark and had to hear some really dark details about some things that happened at a church. So all of that, if you ever had when pressure is mounting on every front, at church, at work, in your relationships, in your family, there's just pressure everywhere. And you just feel like a literal physical hurt or pain in your shoulders or your chest and your throat. You ever felt that? That was me for a good solid week. And then the Lord said to me, surrender to me, because this trouble is in your life to teach you that I am better than that trouble. I spent the week with that literal thick pain in my, right there in my throat. And the Lord asked me to trust him, that he was working things out and shaping things in me with this hard stuff, to simply trust him to stir my soul to holiness. So, at the beginning today, I want to say that he is shaping you with hard stuff in your life. The hard stuff that's in your life, God is maybe even bringing it to you to shape you in this moment. And so he's bringing hard stuff to you to shape you, but he's also bringing hard stuff. The hard stuff that he is bringing to you is shaping you for your good and for the good of this world. So what he's shaping you is good for you and good for your world. So let's get into Psalm 1. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. This is a super important verse for us, a good one to put in your phone to remind you a couple of times a week. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. So what do these words mean? What does it mean that God is our refuge? First, that word refuge in the Hebrew means shelter, to confide, or a refuge. So it's interesting, the two, shelter and refuge, those are pretty easy words for us to kind of get our minds around. And when we hear refuge, it's pretty easy to think of shelter or the actual word refuge. But the newness that I found this week is the sense of what it means to confide. Do you have someone in your life that you just feel like is a trusted place for you to confide in them? To tell someone the hardest, most difficult things, maybe the most vulnerable things, the most hurtful things that are going on in your world. This is a hint of what this word means, refuge. The Lord is your refuge. I think very, very plainly about driving home, the Lord meeting in my car during the hard week last week. And he met me there. And I confided all of it, I was yelling at him. He is your refuge. The context of this verse is a refuge means a place to seek help in trouble. And I don't know where every one of you are in this moment, in this cultural moment, and in this specific moment, but the Lord is a place to seek help in trouble. He is shaping you with his hard stuff, and what he is shaping you is for your good and for the good of this world. Strength, what does strength mean? It means might or strength or to prevail. Hit that next one, Brooklyn. This might and strength, again, also probably pretty easy words for you to connect with. When you see that God is our strength, he is mighty, he is strong. But also, this word prevail brings a newness, a different perspective to it. That the Lord prevails. I want you to think about the thing that brings you that pain in your throat, the thing that brings you that anger, that frustration, that hurt, that difficulty, and understand that the Lord, your God, will prevail over that. The Lord will prevail over COVID. The Lord will prevail over racism. The Lord will prevail over whatever it is that's pressuring you, whatever it is that's bringing stress to you. The Lord will prevail. Do you know that you are an eternal being? And the 70 years-ish that you spent on this planet are but a tiny little blip. They're dust in comparison to eternity that you will spend with a holy God who is stronger and mightier, has defeated all of the powers, all of the principles of evil, of darkness that are in this world. He's defeated them and offers to you peace and his strength that will prevail. The context of this is that the Lord is stronger than your current struggle. Let me say that again to you. The context of this verse, the Lord is stronger than your current struggle. It reminds me of 2 Corinthians 12:10. Brooklyn, hit that next one. This verse will be on the slide. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weaknesses and insults and hardships and persecutions and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong. I want this just to sit with you for a second. Look around you and see the weaknesses, the insults, the hardships, the persecutions, the calamities that are just everywhere. Isn't it possible, and wouldn't it be wonderful if the Lord brought those weaknesses and insults and hardships and persecutions and calamities into your life so that you might see that you can't handle this, but he can. And it's in your weakness, in your admitting that, God, I can't handle this. I need you to handle this. That it is in that weakness that his strength prevails in your soul. But here's the thing. I said the troubles that were pressuring me the week before last, and then God met me and said, surrender and trust me that I'm working things for your good. Do you know what happened to those things that were bringing me stress and pressure? Every single one of them still exist. And every single one of them still exists, still bring that lump of pain in my throat this week. I don't want to have to deal with them. I don't want to have to hurt. I don't want any of that. But the Lord is so patient with us. In the midst of these hardships, let these words sit with you. For the sake of Christ, that I am content in weakness. And let me just say, I'm overcome with conviction that I am far from content with my weakness. I'm far from content with the insults that I receive. I'm far from content in these hardships, and these persecutions, and these calamities. I am not content. That is a lie for me to say that to you. But my heart believes that the truth is that when I am weak, when I am content in these moments, in these times, when I surrender to what God has and what he's doing, then I am strong because the power of the Lord rests in me. The last piece of verse 1 is, go ahead and get the next one there. God is our refuge, and he is our strength, but he's also a very present help in trouble. In Deuteronomy 31 and in Hebrews 13, God promises to never leave you or forsake you. In both the Old Testament and the New Testament, both views of who God is, he promises to never leave you or forsake you. He is always there. If you guys remember, my grandparents had, both of my sets of grandparents had this in a frame in their house, Footprints. You guys remember that cheesy little poem that walking along the beach, and there's 2 sets of footprints that mark the course of my life, and when trouble came, there was only 1 set of footprints. So God, why did you leave me in those times of trouble? And God says, those 1 set of footprints were mine because it was in those times that I was carrying you. It's a cheesy poem, but it's beautiful because it's true. That the Lord is very present in your times of struggle, your times of trouble. A very present means exceedingly, and present means to find, to be present, to meet. You ever meet someone for lunch? You ever meet someone at an appointment? This is the idea, but the Lord is always there. God is all, whether you recognize or see or feel or not, the Lord is exceedingly present with you. So what does help mean? It means to guide, to protect, to serve, to support, to teach, to love, to lead, to help. All of these words that are there next to help us on the screen are different contextual words for what this word means. It's the Hebrew word azer, and by the way, azer is spoken about 100 times in Scripture, and every time it's spoken about God and God alone except one, and that's in Genesis chapter 2, when there is no helper suitable for Adam, and God makes Eve for Adam. And so, women, rise to your role as what God is calling you in your marriage and in your life. Guide, protect, serve, support, teach, love, lead. This is what help means. This is the gift that God is to you. Guide, protect, serve, support, teach, love, lead, help. God is an exceedingly present source of guidance, of protection, of service, of support, of teaching, of loving, and of leading. God is that for you. He's always there in help and in trouble. All of these things, all of these contexts of who God is and what He's done, they don't mean that storms are not coming in your life. All these things also do not mean that storms, when they do come in your life, they won't hurt. They will hurt. Just because God is a refuge and strength and a very present help in times of trouble does not mean that you will not feel pressure. You will not feel hurt. You will not feel pain. It means God, in the midst of those storms, He wants to bring storms to you to teach you, to help you to learn that in Him is strength, in Him is refuge, in Him is help. The Lord will be your refuge to protect. The Lord will be your strength to secure. The Lord will be your help to comfort. So whatever is pressuring you today, God is your refuge. This is where I wish that I could just sit with you in the midst of your pain. This is where I wish that I had a human being sitting with me in the midst of my struggle and say, God is your refuge. Guys, God is this is a really hard season of our lives. God is your refuge. This is a really hard season of our lives. God is your strength. This is a really hard season of your life. God is always present, a very present help. And in the heart of this, the Lord is asking you to surrender to Him. We say that again. The heart of this, God is a refuge and strength, a very present help in times of trouble. What the Lord is asking of you in this moment is to trust Him, that He is better. He could take the pain away in an instant. But we need to learn where to run in our struggle, where to run in our help. And He is a very present help in our times of trouble, in our times of stress. He is your strength. He is your refuge. He is your ever-present help. Can we just it's not going to be on the screen. I haven't prepared for this, but I want to do this. Can we just together say, God is my strength? Together. God is my strength. None of you said it. Say it loud. 1, 2, 3. God is my strength. Now let's say it with refuge. 1, 2, 3. God is my refuge. Let's say He is our ever-present help. 1, 2, 3. God is my ever-present help. I don't think I want to talk anymore. I want to pray. God, Lord, I pray. God, I'm preaching to my soul in this moment, Father. God, I'm preaching to the souls in this room, Father. I'm preaching to the souls listening on the internet, Father. I pray, God, I pray. Lord, would you convince us that you are our refuge, you are our strength, and you are an always present help. God, when we surrender our need for peace, surrender our need for joy in this moment, Father, and run to you and see you as our only hope, God. Lord, I pray that you would allow us to see the truth of that verse in Corinthians that we read, Father. That when calamities and pressures and hard things break us down and make us weak, Father, I pray that we would lean into that weakness. Because when we are weak, you are strong, Father. I pray that you would show up in power and might and prevail against the troubles that hurt us. God, teach us, please, Lord, teach us to surrender to you, that the hard things that are present in our life are teaching us to run to you. Thank you, God. Thank you, Lord, that you are good. Thank you that you are our refuge and our strength and our ever-present help in trouble. Lord, thank you. Be our peace in this moment. Thank you for Jesus. It's in his name I pray.
We're going to sing one more song together, and as we do, I want to encourage you to think through what God may be saying to you because of the message of where we find our refuge. God is our refuge. God is our protector. God is our hope. If you're worshiping with us while you're home, we encourage you, if you're a disciple of Christ, to use this time to take communion with your family. Let's worship together.
this morning and for the reminder that you are our ever-present help, our refuge and strength in times of trouble. Father, we need you, and we love you, and I pray that as we are leaving this place today, that we go protected with that reminder, that we love others well, that we show you love well, and we love you well. Thank you for Jesus. Amen.
Thanks for being here, guys. I really appreciate it, and I wanted to say that I love you all, and grateful for those who get to spend some time with us on the internet. And I miss being together, and I love you. Thanks for being here. Have a wonderful week. Peace.